For this concert, I really wanted to challenge the wind ensemble. We just wrapped up our CPA performance on March 14th. I gave them a day off, and since then we've been working on the two pieces that we're about to play for you. Now, for concert band, we have a rating system of 1 through 6, with music that's fairly easy. Generally, you play in middle school, being grades 1, 2, early high school bands are 3, 4, and then advanced groups play grade 5 or grade 6. Grade 6 is what a lot of collegiate ensembles play. So we went grade 5 for Concert Festival this year for CPA, and we had 2 weeks to turn around and do this concert, so we were like, hey, let's do a grade 6, because that's a great idea. So what you're about to hear, this first piece, is a great opening piece. It's one of my favorites to do with kind of younger groups. But I wanted to read to you what the composer Richard Saucedo wrote about it. Into the Clouds by Richard Saucedo. He writes, "One of my dreams has always been to be a pilot. As I write these program notes, I am only a few weeks away from receiving my private pilot's license. After I receive my license, I will begin to pursue my instrument rating. The coolest thing about being instrument rated is that we will finally be allowed to fly into the clouds. There is nothing like the experience of flight except possibly the experience of music, and I hope the enthusiasm of both can be found in this piece." So I hope you enjoy this. The next piece requires me to actually read, and I'm gonna move the mic over in preparation for that, but we'll talk more about that one in just a second. So I hope you enjoy Into the Clouds. Okay, the final piece on the program this evening requires a little explanation. Francis Macbeth wrote of sailors in Wales as a depiction of Herman Melville's classic book, Moby Dick. This is a 5-movement piece illustrating the main characters of the book. The first movement is entitled Ishmael, and if you've never read Moby Dick, Ishmael is the narrator of the book. He's kind of the main character. This first movement represents Ishmael's love of the sea, and an almost dreamlike state that he has when he sees the sunrise over the ocean on all the boats in the harbor. So, for each movement, there's a paragraph from the book, and I just want to read each one of those before we play the movement so you see what the composer is looking for. Call me Ishmael. I go to sea as a simple sailor, right before the mast, plumb down into the forecastle. Aloft there to the royal masthead, I am tormented with an everlasting itch for all things remote. I love to sail forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts. For these reasons, the whaling voyage was welcome. The great floodgates of the wonder world swung open. There floated, in my inmost soul, endless processions of the whale, the one grand hooded phantom, like a snow hill in the sky. Queequeg. Queequeg's father was a high chief, a king, his uncle a high priest. There was excellent blood in his veins, royal stuff. It was quite plain that he must be some abominable savage, but Queequeg was a creature in the transitory state, neither caterpillar nor butterfly. Savage though he was, and hideously marred about the face, his countenance yet had something in it. Through all his unearthly tattooings and his large, deep eyes, fiery, black, and bold, there seemed tokens of a spirit that would dare 1,000 devils. Movement 3, Father Mapple. If you've never seen the movie Moby Dick, Orson Welles does Father Mapple, and it is absolutely amazing. There was a low rumbling of heavy sea boots among the benches, and all was quiet again, and every eye was on the preacher. Father Mapple rose, and in prolonged, solemn tones, like the continued tolling of the bell in a ship that is foundering at sea in a fog, in such tones he commenced reading the following hymn. Movement 4, Captain Ahab. So you know, Captain Ahab is the famous captain of the Pequod. Just prior to the events of the book, Ahab had his leg bitten off by the famous white whale, Moby Dick. And now, in its place, is just a piece of whalebone. The composer, Macbeth, uses heavy accents to illustrate the angry peg-legged walk of the doomed captain. So Melville writes, "As I leveled my glance towards the taffrail, foreboding shivers ran over me. Captain Ahab stood on his quarterdeck. So powerfully did the whole grim aspect of Ahab affect me that for the first few moments I hardly noted the barbaric white leg upon which he partly stood." Movement 5, the white whale. In this movement, we actually get the whale's first appearance, Ahab's pursuit, and the end of all the crew except for Ishmael, who floats to safety in a coffin carved for Queequeg. The composer Macbeth uses some interesting techniques to illustrate how the sailors track the whale by using the birds that surround the whale when he surfaces to breathe. The movement gets faster and faster and faster as Ahab intensifies his chase, singularly focused on his prey. Melville writes, "Bedraggled with trailing ropes and harpoons and lances, Moby Dick seemed possessed by all the angels that fell from heaven. Retribution, swift vengeance, eternal malice were in his whole aspect. The birds, they marked the spot."